Hello and welcome to another video where I have a little bit of a ramble and a rant and a little bit of a discussion about Europa Universalis 5. Now this is Milano, the most beautiful city in the world in the year of our Lord 1629, because this is, actually it's not my capital, but this is my multiplayer game where I'm playing Milan into the Italian Republic, the Imperial Italian Republic, and we're in the year 1629, and currently there is a large war against the Ottomans, and I would like to talk about it and the issues that we are having with it, in the hopes that some of these issues can be looked at, fixed, reworked, etc. Now, right off the bat, I think we need to get one thing out of the way, made perfectly clear, so that I don't have the comments fill. Actually, I should probably put this at the end, so the comments do get filled up with people ranting about my rant, and I get more engagement. Whatever. The first thing we need to get out of the way is, the amount of troops that are in such a small area of the map. And I think if you calculate, like, adding all of these guys together that we can see, we're probably looking at around about 900,000 million troops, potentially. I didn't do the maths. But there's a lot of troops here. This is more troops than would be feasible for the year 1629, even though the coalition that we have right now is quite large. And sure, it says we've got 1457, but there's a lot of troops that aren't actually taking part in the battles just yet, so they don't count. They're not a power. There's like 400,000 not taking part. But yes, we should not be able to supply all of these guys with the required logistics that they would need in order to survive, thrive, fight, etc. But on that same token, there are some issues that have been brought to light, for me at least, by this war that are independent of the ahistorical nature of the conflict we're having. And a lot of that comes down to food. We can't supply these armies. We started starving pretty much 4 or 5 months into the conflict. My own armies, I have got quite a few more. Actually, if we hover over here, we can see exactly my build situation. I have 6 of every kind of unit, except the auxiliaries, where I have 24. This is because a couple of sessions ago, I had a war against France, and I couldn't march to Marseille. Here, I think it's been renamed. No, it isn't. There it is. I couldn't march to Marseille without starving, without my armies completely running out of food, even though I had absolute naval dominance and was trying and failing to supply via coast. And that is another thing that I'm going to talk about. Logistics on ships is not good either. So I increased the amount of supply wagons in my armies. I added another 18 to every single one of my armies. This is my standard build thing that I like to do. I like to keep it simple. 6 of every kind of unit. Makes it so that I can just split in half and have a very identical stack at the end of the day. I love that. That really suits my playstyle. But despite the fact that I have 2 years of food, eventually that food runs out, we all start starving. And there's a couple of reasons why I think that even though we have an ahistorical amount of troops in a region, and I don't think the game should allow us to do that, there are still issues that need to be brought up. For starters, these supply depots are absolutely garbage. They are completely worthless. As you can see here, they have a capacity of 100 food. The base value is 50, and every tech that you get gives them another 25. That's obviously not enough, but that's already been addressed, let's say. I'm in 1.3, they will be better by a significant amount. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say the exact numbers. In 1.3, I think it's already improved, but we're talking like, these containing thousands of food rather than hundreds. So that's obviously very, very good. But if you see the amount of food that I eat per day with this army, per day, is 180. And sure, I am over the supply limit. I don't think I really should be, but I am over the supply limit, so let's pretend that I'm not. The amount of food that I would eat is, say, half of what this is. About, let's say, around about 100 for this army. Is this really what we're thinking is right? Is, say this was 2,000. How many days should a supply unit, a supply depot, be able to supply a single army before running out of food and never being refilled? Because currently the logistics of, maybe making an army purely of supply units, putting them on perform army logistics is just completely non-functional. It just is non-functional. It does not work. And if that worked, then that would be kind of great. Maybe we have like a year of food and keep supply wagons. That would be pretty much engaging gameplay. I would not be opposed to that whatsoever. And when it comes to the Navy as well, I have a little Navy here. It can carry a bunch of food as well. 10,000 food, in fact, or 11,000 food from this Navy. But again, if I try and put this on Perform Navy Logistics, they're not going to bring food here. They're not going to try and bring food to the front lines. They're not going to, sit outside here, pass food to these armies, then go back, get more food, come back, give it away. It just doesn't work. So that is something that really, really needs fixing as a very, very high priority. But the main issue that I have, the one that is really, I think, a bug, or not even a bug, but just something that has been miscalculated, is trading food. So what happened during this war? Obviously, Austria has declared the war. He has called in Hesse, Netherlands, Saxony, Poland, and myself against the Ottomans, who were allied with Georgia. Carthage has joined in mid-fight, mostly for the navy so far. Georgia's got an army, but it's very small, so it's mostly Ottomans versus Austria. Oh, also Mali, but they've been walking here the entire time. They haven't actually arrived yet. So it's been, the Christians versus the Ottomans for the most part. And the food situation, if we can find the graph for it, is it an economy doodad? Where is it? Market food stockpile. You can see where the fighting has been. All of these places ran out of food very, very quickly. All of these places have a food balance around it is very, very small. But what the likes of Poland and Austria and the Ottomans have done has been to start transporting food via trade to these regions. And you'd think that'd actually be a pretty decent idea. But it turns out not really. Because let's take an example. In Genoa, the Genoese market, my main market, I have quite a lot of food. I've got a nice situation going on. And one of the reasons for that is I have these two towns, Lamello and Versailles, who have rice. And rice is brilliant food good, right? I have 21 levels of rice, and I have a food productivity modifier of plus 154%. And this is the big important number modifier that really you should pay attention to. This means that every single one trade good of rice, which is 10 food, then gets multiplied by this number. So every single rice is not 10 food, but it is 10 food times 154%. So 26 food, which is very, very nice. If my army is in Genoa, eating food in Genoa, the amount of food here is really quite nice because of, I've got more than just the rice here. I've got a bunch of wheat provinces. I got a little bit of fruit. Like there's a nice healthy diet here going on with food. But all of these provinces have these numbers. We got that wine there with 190%. We got 150%, 175%. All of these really big, nice modifiers that make the amount of RGOs you grow turn into way more food than their RGO says that it has as standard. Now, what happens when you use your trade power in your market to transport the food into another market? Well, if I'm using 100 trade power to transport 100 rice, and I'm using very, arbitrary numbers, even round numbers, to make it very easy on my very terrible at maths self, 100 trade orders to move 100 rice turns into 1,000 food. And the food that I lose from this market is not 1,000 food, it is the 2,500 that would be, because of the 150% modifier. So all of that food is getting just pissed into the ether. No one's eating it. It's not going rotten. It is just getting fucking Thanos snapped into nothingness purely because it is being traded. Now, what is my solution that I would suggest for this issue? Well, firstly, trade needs to be slightly reworked so that when you are trading here, instead of having food bearing goods market, instead of trading food, I don't know how furs are food. Okay, furs are food. I didn't know that. Instead of trading food, or food RGOs, instead we would have that little apple symbol, and you just trade food. So I have market food of plus 3,889 in Genoa itself. Maybe I want to trade 1,000 of that food and give food itself its own, trade weight and all that kind of stuff, so that I'm going to just send food itself into Ragusa. That would solve like so many of my issues, because while obviously the Austrians and the Turks are sending food, the amount of trade power that these guys have in their own markets, trade capacity of 789, whereas my market, I'm looking at a trade capacity of 2,000. So I'm a trading company, I'm a trading nation, though it makes sense because I am a merchant republic. If we were allowed to trade just food as standard without RGOs, so we wouldn't have as much of the loss. And I'm not saying there will be no loss, right? There should be some amount of loss, but not, I don't know what percentage that would be. If I would have 2,500 food and it turns into 1,000 food, what loss is that? It's crippling. It's a crippling amount of loss. But that, alongside supply depots being larger, which again they will be, that's already confirmed, but I feel like they need to be more than what has already been shown to be the more, and as well as logistics on these things working, logistics on, I want to make an army that is purely the auxiliaries. I want to pop them on perform army logistics, and I want this guy to go grab food, deposit, grab food, deposit, grab food, deposit. I want that to be something that he never stops doing. But also, the fact is, he's got 9,500 capacity. He's going to stand here, fill this up, and then this army is going to just eat from it instantly and immediately. Which is just, it's not a fun time. It's not a fun time. But yeah, this is multiplayer, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of, whine and whinge about, the game shouldn't be balanced around multiplayer. It isn't, and I know that's a meme, but it is pure cope. The game is not balanced around multiplayer. It never has been. None of their games have been. I guess multiplayer is kind of sick of being your scapegoat for things you don't like about the game, is another thing I'd say on that one. There's things I would like to change. Actually, before I fuck off, one more thing I would like to change. When you see as much of the map as I do, which is, a significant portion of the map, if I go into this patrol the seas, and you can even see it now, this screen is the laggiest piece of shit that I have ever experienced. This is truly awful, and doing this in a multiplayer, I have the game paused. This It's probably going to make the recording lag. It is that bad. So yeah, please fix. That would be quite nice as well. But other than that, I'm really enjoying this campaign. Actually, it is a lot of fun, and we're going to be keeping going with it until 1.3 comes out of beta, and then we're going to start a new campaign. And naturally, as Italy has gotten a whole bunch of new advances and a whole bunch of new flavor in the Italian wars and all of it, I'm clearly going to play Milan again. Like, it's just going to happen. We got to roll it back. My boy, my beautiful boy. He's so gorgeous. Anyway, thanks all for watching. And hopefully some of these issues that we're having can be solved for the future, because I would quite like EU5 to be a game where wars can happen and be enjoyable, because while there's a lot of like enjoyment to be had in the war that we've had so far, there's equal and more amounts of frustration due to things that maybe shouldn't be as frustrating as they are. Also, if you want to make the army sizes smaller, what you need to do is just make it so that barracks here give less manpower, because if I can host an army of whatever size I am, and let's hover over this. Actually, we're going to the ledger. If I can host an army that is this size, and the Ottomans can host an army that is, I mean, that manpower is just insane. There's no, this is why he was the target. But if all of us can have armies of this size, I think we should also have the ability to use them. If you don't want us to have the ability to use armies of this size, then make it so that we can't raise armies of this size. That's essentially the argument here. If we have them, let us use them. If you don't want us to use them, don't let us have them. Reduce the size of the armies, reduce the amount of manpower we get. I don't want to have a hard cap or even a soft cap of force limit. I don't want to see this number here mean, oh, if you go over this number, you get massive extra penalties like we have in EU4. But just reducing manpower is probably going to be sufficient. But anyway, that's my little rant and ramble, and yeah, I hope you guys didn't find it too off-putting, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.